as an American, I grew up with this notion that we were the best at everything. We were the most innovative and creative country out there. Or so I thought. My half year in Beijing is slowly eroding this belief. The longer that I stay, the more I realize that China is gonna be the number one superpower. There's an inevitable dominance. And specifically in one area, quite frankly, is soft power. So, since the end of World War II, the United States has achieved basically this top dog status. They're number one, right? And with that power, they've been able to have such a large and wide-ranging sphere of influence around the world, ranging from foreign policy to things such as even like music that you listen to. It was silly for me to think that China could ever offset the United States at this game of soft power. But I had this experience that really changed my mind. It was, wow, it was a little bit enlightening to be quite frank. So, but
first, let me take a selfie.
Sorry about that. Typical millennial behavior. What can you say? But anyways, back to the story. So, a few months back, I met some high school age students already in college majoring in Hungarian. And I'm thinking like, what? Hungarian? College? Strange, right? But I found out that there's a program that the government has where it allows these high school students to opt out of taking a Gaokao, go directly to college, and get to travel abroad, study abroad 1 year in Hungary. And so, all they have to do is just study Hungarian in high school. That's about it. And I'm gonna assume that you're not too familiar with the Gaokao. So the Gaokao is a standardized test that high schoolers take if they want to go to university. And it's kind of like the ACT and SAT, except for the fact there's a lot more weight on it. So the score that you receive on the Gaokao determines what college you are allowed to attend. And so there's an enormous amount of pressure surrounding this test. And parents have gone to really extreme lengths to ensure that these kids do the very best that they can. Some parents, what they'll do is they'll actually book a hotel room a few nights in advance before the test, near the testing center. And so the kids can, rest up and then maximize their study time. So it's crazy. But for parents that are a little worried about their child's success, I'll say, they've gone to some rather, how do I put this, elaborate schemes to ensure their children succeed, particularly in some maybe more unethical things. Here, check it out. So, okay. So, I think you can see why some students may want to opt out of the Gaokao. But not only that, when you're young, who doesn't want to travel abroad? Like, there's this huge, glorious, rainbow surrounding travel, this magical thing, right? There's a euphoria, I don't know, something magical and cool, right? And also, when you think about it, even, if you look at it in terms of, say, Chinese kids, adolescents, teenagers, I think they want to travel more so because a lot of their life has been influenced by Western culture. So coming from their perspective, I could say they actually might want to experience it firsthand, something that they've grown up with and something they know, but they've never really got to deal with firsthand. So after meeting these kids, I really wanted to know what they did for class. So on one Saturday morning, I followed them because they had an assignment to do. So their assignment was to interview both local Chinese and foreigners about their educational experiences. And it was interesting to say the least. When I first started watching them interview people, it was pretty awkward and a little bit uncomfortable to watch. They were rough around the edges, so to speak. But, yeah, let me just roll the clip, see how, I'll show you, maybe you can get a feeling of how it was. Here, roll it.
So as you're watching, these kids are a little bit awkward. They don't really have themselves put together. I guess it's normal for when you're this young and you've not experienced. It's always just unsure. They're not at first they really weren't super proactive. They were just like kind of huddled around each other, and they kind of awkwardly storm people, just like this image right now. Yeah, but they definitely got better. I mean, they're definitely trying to figure it out on their own, and it's just learning how to work together and learning how to be, yeah.
So after some advice and them like practicing and doing it again and again, they got much better, honestly, like much better. It was more acceptable to watch. And after they finished their assignment, I decided to interview them. So I had a few questions for them. So here, check it out.
I'm definitely not good at public speaking, but I wish I'm good at it. But yeah, after this program, I think it has definitely improved my public speaking skills. So.
As for the reason why I chose to learn Hungarian, it's because three reasons. First of all, I don't need to attend Gaokao because it's very stressful. So instead, I chose to learn languages. And secondly, I chose to learn Hungarian because of the CC princess. I admire her a lot. And as for the third reason, I think I want to be a translator in the future, and learning more languages is good for me.
So when I reflect upon this experience, it amazes me for many things, but I'll categorize it into two things. So from a macro level and then a micro level. When we look at a program of this nature, it really forces these kids, these I guess soon to be adults, right, to have stronger interpersonal skills. Even activities such as interviewing total strangers that include both local Chinese and foreigners, just random people, right, exposes them to an assortment of different individuals. And not only that, it teaches them how to deal with these people. Like when you're asking people, you've got to kind of know, right? You've got to learn how to deal with different people. But not only that, going that topic of dealing with, you have to think on your feet, right? You have to figure, oh, how should I approach this person? All these different, things you have to think about when doing this, right? But also, it helps build composure, right? You've got to be able to handle yourself when you talk to people. You've got to be able to face rejection and, whatever these interactions are. You've got to be able to have good composure. But, it's also really cool that they're building confidence in these kids, because doing these type of things, I think a lot of people find a little nerve-wracking, quite frankly. And I know I did too. So this is great, right? And I think what's even better than that, is that this education, I think, refutes this current narrative from the West that Chinese students, all they can do is like math. They're good at memorizing things. They're not like quote unquote like effective communicators, leaders, and they're really timid. And I think that's amazing that this program is completely contradicting that narrative. Well, I won't say contradicting, is disproving that narrative and proving to the rest of the world that China is, one, has students that can do it, and two, they're focusing on it. So while making these kids effective communicators and potential leaders, China right now has literally created a pool of talent that will become the future diplomats and ambassadors to Hungary. And it's not only diplomacy that these kids will be helping with, they are going to be the bridge between China and Hungary, because they're familiar with the culture of Hungary and they're familiar with their own culture because they're Chinese, right? So this will be really good for the future, right? They'll be able to effectively assist with things ranging from like business to sharing research and etc. etc. It's really bridging these two countries together even more so. But making these and this is really good because the relationship's already really good. So it's just making it even better and better. And right now China's really sinking its teeth deep into Hungary. And in doing so, it's positioning itself to move much further into Western Europe. And I think the beauty of this program is that it can literally work with any country, right? And in doing these programs, right, China's sphere of influence not only grows, but it gets much stronger. And because, it's not just like they're dabbling in each country. They're really trying to build relationships, really trying to have Chinese people China's really trying to have its own people understand culture so they can mingle and mix effectively together. And, the more I can reflect and think about this, I don't think that the U.S. is doing this. I'm actually pretty certain the U.S. is not doing this at all. Actually, no, I'm not pretty. I'm certain. I'm certain that the U.S. is not doing anything of this type of nature, this type of relationship building, all these things. And in fact, I don't think the U.S. could, even if it wanted to currently, because there's so many problems in the U.S. going on, so many things they're focused on that they just can't focus on effectively dealing with other countries and spreading influence in a way that's not super domineering, not using hard power, not using force. And it's kind of interesting to see that China's doing this and the U.S. is not, and it seems like this is a much more effective means because Joseph Nye, the Harvard professor, he said this is the best way. Well, not he said this is another way of helping. Cut this out. We're gonna roll from. I think the beauty of this program is that it can work with any other country. And in doing these type of programs, China's sphere of influence is not only going to grow, but it's going to get stronger because China's enlisting its people to really know someone else's culture, which is obviously better for the future, so there's less tensions and less things, misunderstandings and whatnot. And when you look at the United States, they're definitely not doing something of this nature whatsoever. And in fact, currently, I doubt they could even do so because of so many problems. And even if times are bad, I'm not sure it would happen, honestly, something like this, because I don't think people are interested or there would be a way to do so. And I think what makes this program even better is the fact that it's self-serving. And I'll explain that, right? These students are not studying Hungarian for the sake of bettering their country, but entirely for their own benefit. And the byproduct is helping China, right? And this is, I guess, what we can call effective management of people. And I think the U.S. should start learning from China these type of tactics if it wants to maintain its global influence. Because to me, using this type of soft power, really giving people what they want, and basically everyone gets what they want at the end of the day. And I think that's really great. And I think, one, it's not leaving any hard feelings with anyone. And the U.S. right now, I would say, when we look at current media, we look at a lot of different things. The U.S. isn't necessarily favored in a good light as much as it used to be. So I think the U.S. should take a playbook from China. But yes, anyways, that's my little tidbit on a story that I thought was interesting, that I just really wanted to share, maybe a new perspective that you maybe never heard. So anyways, leave a comment if you thought this was interesting or just something, constructive criticism, whatever, right? Please leave a like, subscribe, and yeah, really hope you enjoyed it. And that's about it. Peace out. Mock photography. Thanks.